In this lesson, we will learn more about fixed size storage arrays. We will continue with the previous example, but let's start doing some changes. If you remember, we declare the fixed size array with 10 elements. In Solidity, it is possible to initialize the array, let's say with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 in this way. Now we initialize the fixed array with 10 elements, and actually we could have done the same with the dynamic array. Okay, and now the dynamic array has initially 2 elements, and then we can add more elements. Now, similar to what we did with the dynamic array, let's add elements to the fixed array. So let's write a function called add element to fixed array. And it's going to be very similar to the previous example. We're going to pass, let's say, to in 256 called new element and external. Now let's try to write fixed array dot push and new element. Okay, now if you notice, the compiler is throwing us an error, and this is because the push function and also the pop function are not available for fixed size array. They are only for dynamic size array. If you look at this, our array really has 10 elements. So since we cannot add more elements to the array in this way, what actually we could do is we can edit the elements of this array. So we could say, I want to modify the element at index underscore index, and then we pass the element that we want to position in that particular index. So instead of doing dot fixed array dot push, what we say is we access the index. It means the position of the array at index underscore index, and then we set the value to the new element. Okay, so let's test it. We are going to deploy arrays, and now we have add element to fixed array that receives 2 parameters, the index and the new element. Let's verify first. Let's say the index 0 of the fixed array, it has the value 1. Now let's say we want to modify the index 0 of the fixed array. So we pass the value 0, and then we specify the value, let's say 20. We do transact, and now let's verify. Okay, as you can see, we are accessing the array at the position that we are specifying, and then we are changing its value. Now let's say we want to create a function that returns the first 5 elements of the array. Let's create a function called get first 5 elements of fixed array. Okay, and then we can say this is going to be external, but since it's returning the first 5 elements, we need to specify in 256 of 5, and I'll explain more about this keyword memory. So since we need to return the first 5 elements, the only way to do it is we need to declare a provisional array. In this case, let's call it result. Okay, that has to be in memory. And then what we need to do is we need to iterate over the fixed array. We are going to store in the result array the 5 elements, and then we are going to return result. So here we say return result, but now we need to put the elements. So we are going to do a for, and we are going to declare uint 256 index. So we declare a variable index, where index is going to be less than, in this case, 5, because we want the first 5 elements, and then we simply increment index one by one. So now we fill the result in memory array. So this is only living within the scope of the function. And we say the element that is going to start at 0, that is going to start at 0, is going to contain fixed array at that particular index 2. Okay, and then we are going to iterate to the 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we're going to put the first 5 elements, and the last element is going to have index 4. Okay, and that should work. Now we can't restrict the mutability to view because we are not modifying the storage, but we are accessing the storage. Okay, now everything is green. So let's recap. In order to obtain the first 5 elements, we need to declare an in-memory array, which is a temporal array that exists within the scope of the function, and it has to be declared as a fixed array, because that's a very important aspect. Solidity doesn't have dynamic size arrays in memory. Okay, and the reason is because when you call a function, the function needs to know in advance the amount of memory that needs to reserve for this particular function execution. So if Solidity wouldn't have that, it would be impossible to know the memory that needs to allocate. So for that reason, the in-memory arrays need to declare its size in advance. Okay, so let's test it. I'm going to deploy it, and I'm going to simply say get first 5 elements, and as you can see, we get the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, something that we could have done is declare the variable there, and we could simply do the same, and that could work.